This is a free sample of the book Don't Be Simp-Pathetic by Cairo Copeland. The first half of this book is posted right here on YouTube, free for everyone to listen to. If you like this content and want to hear or read the rest, or want to listen to it free of ads, visit reinventideal.com/simp. The book is available on Kindle, paperback, and Audible at reinventideal.com/simp.
Chapter 4. Why women don't like giver guys. Subservience. Why simping doesn't work. Imagine the following scenario. You and this woman you admire are in the kitchen. She's standing by the refrigerator and asks, "Can I have some wine?" Your response is not only, "Of course, darling, as you wish," but you also get up and pour it for her, despite the fact that she's right there and perfectly capable of doing it herself. This woman will have never been more repulsed in her entire life by a guy. The problem here is not your good-hearted nature of wanting others to be happy and like you. That's not bad. The problem is subservience. Built into our DNA through thousands of years of human history is the natural tendency to treat the subservient as less than human. The Egyptian princess had no care nor concern for her Hebrew slaves. This lack of concern certainly extends to a lack of attraction as well. And all throughout history, this has been the case. From the earliest of slave-master arrangements to the day that French princess said, "Let them eat cake." Being helpful is one-sided, and it is a fatal error to think that you are also helping yourself. Perhaps we stumble onto this twisted logic by observing that the most helpful waiter probably gets the best tips. But the arrangement was made for that. The tipper knows that the waiter is being most helpful to get the best tip. There is not a hidden agenda, so his subservience is rewarded because it was solicited and bought. Subservience is the same reason why male strippers aren't as popular with women as female strippers are with men. A male stripper is legitimately there for the express pleasure of the women he entertains. They may tip this guy, but it is very unlikely they'd want to go home with him. Percy clearly didn't get this concept when he held the bag for Angie. Another client had a similar problem. His name was Jake. He was an otherwise very appealing fellow with a good job and was well educated. So much was going for him, but despite all the things that he had to be prideful about, he threw all that pride away when he met Erin. Erin is a unique case, which is probably what caused this high sexual market value guy to lower himself to simping for her. She was a bikini barista. She owned a little food truck where she served coffee in a skimpy little bikini that showed off her enormous assets. Because she was not only supermodel sexy, but also seemingly receptive to his advances, he fell hard for her. Their story so far had gone like this. He saw her advertising her food truck on the side of the road in her little bikini, thought she was extremely hot, and pulled over to meet her. He did the usual flirting techniques and acted boldly. They chatted for a good bit, even after he finished the coffee he bought from her. He even got her number. Later, I would come to the conclusion that she only gave out her number because she had just started this new business venture and was afraid of being badmouthed by her first customer. However, they did text back and forth regularly, which is something I was surprised to learn when I reviewed the text messages for Jake. But things took a turn for the worst when he visited her every single day to buy a coffee, which was pretty pricey for just 12 ounces. And he talked a lot to her about helping her with her business, unsolicited. What really sent him into the simp lane was when he, without being asked, made a website for her business and showed it to her. I guess alarm bells probably went off in her head at this point. This isn't the cool together guy I might have come to believe he was, she may have thought. This guy is just another subservient simp trying to build up sex credits. Later, she'd move her food truck's location and ghost on him. There are so many things wrong with this story, but the big one is that he was trying to be helpful, which was probably what made him so confused at the time of our coaching sessions. "Do people not want help and things that can benefit them?" he'd say, with a hint of sadness. I don't believe that women approach a situation like this logically. It's more likely that their reactions are emotional instincts going back to the historic slave days. But this instinct does serve them the same way a cost-benefit analysis would. Suppose you are someone that is very beneficial for her to have in her network. Suppose she is even a bit interested in you before the two of you get to know each other. Then she finds out that you could help her with something that she really wants or needs. At that moment, you become disqualified from ever being a sex partner. The rational explanation behind that is that if you really are that useful, she doesn't want to fuck things up by introducing sex into the arrangement. But as you know, women are more emotional, and they understand that sex can make things unpredictable and jeopardize the relationship. It adds new risks that otherwise wouldn't exist. Even if you're a very attractive guy, you must recognize this point. Women have 1/18 the amount of sex hormones you have, so it doesn't always take top priority for them when it comes to getting needs met. But if you're one of those guys that they call meal tickets, which is a guy that a woman dates just for free meals, you're serving a more useful purpose, feeding her. She doesn't always need sex, but she always needs to eat. In short, they don't put their meal tickets on the line for a chance at a little bit of dick. The more useful you are to her, the less likely you are to get sexual with her. Once she sees you as someone beneficial to her, you're no longer seen as someone sexually desirable. Just like if Lisa Ann was your landlord, you wouldn't risk fucking it up by trying to fuck her. If she turns out to be unreceptive to your advances, that would lead to so much awkward tension whenever you see each other. Or worse, she throws you out. Your need for housing is more important in that scenario. Similarly, women have needs that are more top of mind than sex. While your sex drive is always on, hers has to be turned on. But you will not be able to do that with a woman that sees you as helpful. Trying to fix this condition with a woman who already sees you as useful is a waste of time. There's no cure, only prevention, and an ounce of prevention is worth 10 tons of cure. To prevent this, avoid talking about things like your job. It may just bore her, or it may be seen as an attempt to impress her, or it may signal to her that you could be of benefit to her. Even if you have a fancy pants job, let her discover it for herself. If she ever asks, you can joke by saying, "I work at McDonald's." You may fear she'll have no interest in you after, but if that were the case, she was probably just looking for a meal ticket. But in many cases, they're more intrigued by you for having the balls to admit something like that. Avoid talking about your skills. Whatever you're good at, keep quiet about it. If it's something that benefits them, they will not see it as something they need to give you sex for in order to get you to do it for them. They'll just ask you for it and give you a hollow thanks in return. Even if you're a great cook or guitar player, let her discover that on her own. There's nothing wrong with demonstrating these great skills, so long as they're demonstrated in the natural course of events. But boasting about them early on is a fatal error. Avoid talking about your accomplishments. They stink of bragging and reek of thirst. The stench of thirst is what dries up a woman's happy place faster than the Saharan sun. But they also lead you right back to talking about your skills. That leads to her saying, "Maybe you can help me with." When you hear a sentence start out that way, an alarm bell should be going off. A sentence that starts this way is a shit test in disguise. She's testing to see if you're man enough to say no, to not supplicate and become subservient. You never want to hear those words, and if you do, it means she thinks you were trying to impress her. The best course of action is to just say, maybe, maybe not, and then change the subject immediately. The next best thing to solidify the fact that you are not a subservient simp that will do as she commands is to create a story. Later in the conversation, talk about how you've experienced many people in your past make attempts to use you for your different skills and how it is so annoying. This sends the message you want her to get, that you will not be used. Except for one thing. The only thing you want to be useful to a woman for? Sex. Burn it into your mind right now that the only problem you can help a woman with is her reproductive problem. When the elements of exchange in business matters are added to any relationship, that pushes things further away from being sexual. The possibility of sex leaves her mind the moment it does. We all know that it's a terrible idea to pursue sex with women at work. The primary purpose there is to conduct business. A woman's workplace isn't just her job. She has multiple workplaces throughout her life, and you want no part of them. A few exceptions may come to be acceptable when she's your committed girlfriend. Obviously, you don't leave her stranded if her car breaks down in the ghetto. But if there is a lack of sex in your relationship, you must put a premium on your non-sexual attention. This means you do not go to friend gatherings and family events with her. You do not go shopping with her. You hear me, Percy? Your non-sexual attention will be given again when she gives you her sexual attention. No fixing. No Mr. Reliable. Go back to the example at the start of this chapter, when she asks, "Can I have some wine?" "I want some wine." You say, "Then go get it." This isn't douchey. It's refusing to be subservient. And how the dictionary defines subservient is 1. Serving or acting in a subordinate capacity, a subordinate. And 2. Servile, excessively submissive, obsequious. Does any of this sound like James Bond? Or any guy you'd want to be like? The media may show subservient males to be successful, like on TV and movies. Phil Dunphy from Modern Family is a great example. But this is the blue pill and the fempowerment mandate at work again. Males are servants by nature, but it used to be about serving community, country, company, God, or the church. Then, the fempowerment mandate found out how useful this was. So with their media allies, they went to work, creating the perception that serving women would lead to reward. Recognize when you can provide value without being subservient. There are two extreme ends to this spectrum. 1. Provide value at all times and at all costs. Or 2. Avoid providing altogether to avoid looking thirsty. One end is a simp, the other is an asshole. The medium in the middle is the correct course of action, but we as males are less prone to find middle ground. The pushover gets these reactions. Aww, what a sweetheart. Ew, he does whatever I say hoping to impress me. Gross. The asshole gets an auto-rejection reaction. Fuck that asshole. What a douche. The reactions you want are, there's something different about him. Why isn't he paying attention to me? Does he even like me? I hope he does. When requests are made starting with words like, "Hey, since you're up," it's okay to fulfill them. But requests that require you to get up are not okay. It's not risky to tell someone to go get what they want. A woman wants a man, not a servant boy. They may complain that you're not heeding their will. They may even throw shaming language at you like, "A gentleman would do it," or "A real man would do it." This faux indignation they hurl is only a reflex and by no means genuine. You are safe to ignore it. Tell them if they need a butler, they should hire one. If you wouldn't do it for a guy friend, don't do it for them.